You build a flawless website for an international market. The translation is perfectly localized. You launch it. Immediately, bounce rates spike. Conversions flatline. It is incredibly common for companies to take their existing domestic website, swap out the language, update the currency symbols, and assume they are ready for global business. This is the monolithic design trap. The friction usually isn't in the translation, it's in the architecture itself. A minimalist Aryan layout that signals premium quality and efficiency in one country can look stark, incomplete, and highly suspicious to users in another. To actually connect with a global audience, updating the text isn't enough. You have to rebuild the digital environment to match the underlying psychology of the local culture. This 3D matrix shows the core dimensions of Hofstede's cultural dimensions theory. It is a framework that assigns numerical scores to different countries based on their societal values, turning subjective cultural behaviors into precise data points. Let's isolate the first key metric, the Power Distance Index, or PDI. This measures how much a society accepts and expects inequality and strict hierarchy. In a high PDI culture, like Mexico or Malaysia, social structures are top-down. Authority and official status are deeply respected. Compare that to a low PDI culture, like Denmark. Here, society leans egalitarian, favoring flat organizational structures and peer-level interactions. When designing for high PDI users, the interface needs to project authority. The layout should be structured like a top-down pyramid, placing a strong emphasis on official certifications and prominent messages from the CEO right at the top. For low PDI users, that heavy corporate structure feels alienating. The architecture needs to flatten out. Executive bios move to the background, and the interface prioritizes user-generated content, community forums, and accessible horizontal navigation. The menus you build are digital manifestations of the social hierarchy your users live in every day. The next dimension is the Uncertainty Avoidance Index, or UAI. This tracks how uncomfortable a society feels with ambiguity and whether they prefer strict rules or open-ended exploration. Japan scores high on this index. Users here require high levels of security and comprehensive context before making a decision. Sweden, on the other hand, scores low. People are highly comfortable with open space and don't need exhaustive instructions to navigate their environment. A high UAI digital experience must eliminate ambiguity. The interface needs to be dense with information, featuring extensive FAQ sections, highly detailed product specifications, and highly visible security guarantees immediately on the homepage. Throw that same dense layout at a low UAI user, and it causes immediate friction. They prefer to explore. The design should rely heavily on minimalism, intuitive click paths, and simple, uncluttered menus. Many designers treat heavy white space as a universal standard of good taste, but to half the world, an empty page looks like missing information. The third metric is individualism versus collectivism, or IDV. This tells us whether a user's core identity revolves around personal achievement or group harmony. In a highly individualistic culture like the United States, the focus is squarely on the self, personal rights, and individual success. Conversely, in a collectivist culture like South Korea, the emphasis shifts entirely to the group, social loyalty, and shared community experiences. This drastically alters your digital strategy. For an individualistic audience, the interface should isolate the user. You use copy like "customize your experience" and provide tools to tailor the product purely to their personal preferences. For a collectivist audience, you have to pivot. The interface needs to highlight social proof. You dedicate prime screen real estate to partner logos, customer testimonials, community favorite badges, and imagery that features groups rather than a solitary person. You can write a flawlessly coded call to action, but if it appeals to the wrong core social identity, the user won't click. McDonald's provides a clear example of applying these cultural data points correctly to avoid the translation trap. Their US website is built for an individualistic, low-context culture. The layout focuses almost exclusively on convenience, speed, and personal promotions. But look at their strategy in India. The digital environment adapts to a highly collectivist, high-context culture. The layout prominently features communal dining, highlights local community integration, and uses warmer imagery focused on groups and shared experiences. Understanding these cultural dimensions is a core technical and architectural competency for any global business. It belongs in the blueprint phase, long before you ever write the marketing copy. The most effective global websites don't force a single rigid template onto the world. They act as a digital mirror, reflecting the user's specific cultural environment back at them. When a digital space feels native, you establish immediate trust, and users finally feel like they belong.